What are the risks associated with construction projects? I'm going to take you through some of my top ones and address, I'm so excited actually, I'm going to address some questions that have come up since the last videos that we recorded a long time ago. This is all brand new content when it comes to risks that I think you're going to love. The truth is that most people fill out your risk register and they don't look at it again. Meanwhile, those threats start happening and it spirals the team out of control, and now you have unevenness and overburden. And so in this episode, I'm not talking to you only about like risks with safety or weather risks. I'm talking about the risks that you typically can't see, but that will really hurt you. So let's do it. If you're into that, stay with me on this video. Let me talk about risks. I believe 100%, and one of the best videos on this channel that does the best, it's like in the hundreds of thousands of views, is how to run a project step by step. And I go through some things like we have to establish a plan, we have to know the owner's conditions of satisfaction, communicate that to a team, assemble your team, stay together but segregate, meaning have different assignments, so that there's area, spatial, or whatever you want to call it, geographical control. And then make sure that we're tracking each of the areas with the right key performance indicators. And one of the final things that I talk about in that video is that we have to know the risks and then keep monitoring with those people in charge. We call them OPERs, the one person ultimately responsible, OPER, for each of those areas, each of those geographical areas. And that once you know that, you have a team, right? You have the right, using the Jim Collins analogy, you have the right people on the bus, right people in the right seats. Now you know where to drive it. Now the key thing is just working with that driver to not hit the car in front of you. One of my kids recently is going through driving school and they're like, turn signal and this and blah, blah, blah. No, the driving is simple. There's two rules to driving. Don't hit the car in front of you and do not drift out of your lane and hit the car to your side. It's the person behind you. It's their job to make sure they don't hit you. And people survive all the time without turn signals and air conditioner and all of the other things. Don't hit the car in front of you, stay in your lane. Those are the rules. It's great to know how to drive. It's great to have a car. It's great to have a license, but we have to make sure we don't hit anything. So that is the key. And just so you know, like I know some of you are like, Jason, that's not how you do driving. I have proven this over and over and over. Car, stay in your lane. Car, stay in your lane. That is it. And I want to convince you of this. One of my kids, I trained our first kid, and after a lot of cussing and yelling and getting frustrated, I was like, I'm just going to pay somebody to teach these kids how to drive. We have 11 kids, so I'm not doing this anymore. But one of the not great effects of it is they came back being like focused more on the turn signal than almost anything else. And I'm like, remember Dad's rules, but Dad, they said blah, 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 that your two rule thing wasn't great. And I'm like, car in front of you, stay in your lane. And they're arguing with me and I'm like, argh. And I remember a few times, not just once, a few times, my kid takes the turn signal, it was on the left hand, somewhere on the right, I don't know what's that, wherever the turn signal was, and is so focused on turning left that they drift into oncoming traffic. And I'm like, get back in your lane. And I grabbed the steering wheel. They were so distracted on the freaking turn signal that they almost had a head-on collision. I'm like, car in front of you, stay in your lane. This happens to me over and over. And so on projects, this is the same thing. We're like, oh, do this, do this, do this. I'm going to get my turn signal. We're distracted with things that we can actually survive without while we're on our way to hitting an oncoming car. So knowing our risks is absolutely key, and we've got to make sure that we're focused on the right things. So I've got a couple questions here that have been asked. What risks should we be focused on, even above things like weather or safety incidents? And I do want to say safety is first. It's a priority. It's a core value. So serious injuries and fatalities has always got to be at the top of our list. But here's what I want to mention from a risk standpoint. The things that you should be looking out for on your projects are typically the things that you cannot see. And so that's why I'm always harping on visual production plans, macro level tech plans, norm production plans, and look-aheads and weekly work plans. I'm telling you, you're like, Jason, this video is going in such a different direction. Your risks aren't going to be Russia nuking a major city. It's not going to happen. And if it did, we wouldn't even know about it. We're dead. The risks are going to be identifiable things that could be seen in visual environments. Let me make a point. If you have your macro level attack plan for your project that shows strategically on one page, 60 seconds what the plan is for that, you can see the following. You can see trade constraints or bottlenecks. You can see zone constraints or bottlenecks. You can see batch size constraints or bottlenecks, which is where you don't have the right zone size. You can also see what we call precedence constraints. That's where there is a sequence of operations that has a certain set of logic ties in what we call a precedence diagram. This can't happen until this happens, and this takes too long, so we have to design to it, prefabricate it, or optimize it in some way. The other types of bottlenecks that you'll see, or the biggest risks, are your most limiting factors on your construction project. I did a podcast recently where the individual was talking about SIFs, serious injuries or fatalities. And he said, sometimes we're so focused on the total recordable incident rate that we're not enough focused on a major fall or a caught between or an electrocution. And so I want to give you two categories of things that you can do to really make sure that you're identifying risks in the proper way. My way. You develop your way. Number one, catastrophic risks. Crane falling down, worry about it. Somebody falling off the building, go ahead and worry about it. The trench is going to collapse, worry about it. The shoring, worry about it. Worry about it until you get to a point where you feel safe. Quick story with that. On the Bioscience Research Laboratory, we had ballast cranes. That means they're not anchored into the foundation, like literally not anchored. And in Arizona, we have these microbursts that can have such an effect that like you have hurricane force wind speeds. I'm worried about it. What if that crane falls down? I took it to a point where finally I got the engineer to design the pad to where we were safe even with a microburst. And even though the crane itself wasn't rated for a microburst, that the attachment was, and that there was no way that this thing is falling over. That is a good example of productive paranoia. So productive paranoia is the first category of how you look for risk. Category 2 is what I introed with. Are there risks that you can see but you typically don't see because you're not doing visual planning? Again, zone bottlenecks, trade bottlenecks, batch size bottlenecks, precedence bottlenecks, or any other thing that you could typically see in the overall strategy on a single page communication of your project schedule. So that's what I want you looking for. The second one, how do I manage trade instability? They're not showing up or they're not doing good work while we're here. And I'm telling you, 3 months ahead pull plan, 3 weeks ahead the pre-construction meeting, and you get them into those last planner meetings, you will find out most of the time in a mock-up or a first run study or in that pre-construction meeting or the preparatory meeting, whatever you call it, whether or not they're going to show up well. And most of the time they will now show up well. But if they are on their way to not showing up well and not performing and being a major problem, ideally I want you to start seeing signs of it 3 months ahead and even farther in the pre-mobilization meeting. And so again, it's about taking seeable but typically not seen things into the open by following visual systems. Third question, can daily planning help remove risks, or is that just theory? It can, but it has to be put into what we call strategic horizons. The different horizons are the overall project horizon where you analyze the whole project. Then there's the 1 year horizon where you're looking at weather and procurement and massive environmental risks. Then you have the 3 month horizon where you make sure that everybody's pull planned and a part of the team. You have the 6 week horizon where you make sure that you're roadblock free. The 3 week horizon where you make sure that every trade partner is planned to start on the project site well with the pre-con meeting. The 1 week horizon where you have a weekly work plan, and then the day horizon where you have a plan for the next day. So daily planning will only help with the risks the day of, but it is key, just merge it with the other horizons. Last question, how do I get my team to take risks seriously? I'm going to pull this all together. The risk and opportunity register is not something that you go do and then you just put on a server or on a shelf somewhere. You review it weekly and you hold each other accountable. What accountability means is that this is an expectation and we're helping each other to meet the expectation. Front and center, people talk about what they see. So if you want them to talk about risks, show them the risk and opportunity register every week. So doing these videos where we're answering questions, I could go on for hours, but I attempted to pick the most important things. I'm going to turn this into a little blog post so you can reference back to it. You also have the notes and the transcript, but if you have any questions, reach out to us in the comments below. I hope you've loved this video. On we go.